and the root causes of the war in Libya. 11th at exactly 9:15 East African Standard Time, 6:15 London time, and adjust your watches according to the location where you were based. I will give a lecture, an open lecture to students, African students across the universities in the United Kingdom. Powerful lecture. Those who can join via Zoom will be in attendance via carried by Punchline Africa TV. We shall flash the Zoom and the poster is coming soon. I'll release that poster on Tuesday, and you will have Tuesday or Monday. That poster will be released. It will be live event with Professor and Deliwaro Africa, a colleague, an activist, young activist that I'm training to come on international scene, who will be delivering a keynote speech, and other speakers who want to speak on that day. Elvis Wanda will be part of the speakers panel. Hussein, my man from Canada, will be one of them. Piero Lumumba will join us. But today, our topic is, has the African Union, AU, betrayed the African continent and its people? That is the question of today, 6th April 2023, the year of our Lord. Ladies and gentlemen, as usual, I welcome all of you to this platform. This platform, we rely on facts. We don't rely on fiction. The reports about African Union, intelligence reports that I did, 4 of them. My team in Nairobi can bring them on the platform for everybody to take a copy later on. You can paste them on the chat so that people can take copies and read for yourselves. The intelligence reports that I made, the first report was on sex for jobs that was killing Africa Union, of which the chairperson of African Union was able to, Union Commission agreed and sacked the chief of staff. Sacked the chief of staff by then, who was doing sex for jobs. Women could be taken to hotels before they are given jobs. Corruption was rampant. Money meant for projects was not coming. We have commission, agriculture commission, information commission. We have peace commission. But you see these people in your villages. You see them in your country. How many of them come to give us information on agriculture? How many of them come to give us information? We only saw a function that was functioning was CDC, which is again involved in so many scandals. As we speak today, CDC is already, and you can see we have already attached all those intelligence reports. They are there now. You can pick one and go and read for yourself. Well researched, well Shakespearean English. If you have a problem, have a dictionary closer to you, because it is going to be, it is tough English there. I want to warn those French-speaking guys that the English there, you need a dictionary, because I sat down and researched it very properly and brought my political science English into it. matched with the low English. We found credible evidence, and we have a lot of credible emails coming from the workers, coming from the vice chair himself, the Ghanaian man who is currently saying he's still there. He is around. He can testify that he actually lost hope in African Union. So has the African Union betrayed Africa? Yes. Has the African Union betrayed Africa? Yes, it has. It has betrayed Africa. We don't see anything that we need a lot of help, but we don't see that help. Nigeria needs help. Biafra needs help. Cameroon needs help. Where is the help? Congo needs help. Central African Republic needs help. Libya needs help. We need help in Libya. Where is it? Have we betrayed even Gaddafi? We can't even have a day for Gaddafi memorial. Yet Gaddafi paid his own money and his life fighting for a better Africa. Is this the organization that we want in Africa? Gaddafi might have his own mistakes. But why did we kill a country? Why did we kill a country? Why did we kill a country? Why did we destroy Libya? Libya was a country that had everything. Libya was a country that could give us medicine, that could give us money, that could build us roads. We killed it. We killed the owner. We killed the president. Why didn't we, if we hated Gaddafi so much, why didn't we just kill Gaddafi? If you hated him so much, why did we kill Libya? People in Libya today, the French are taking the oil. The French are taking the oil. Ladies and gentlemen, the French are taking the oil at a very high rate. Nobody is saying anything about this. That we are here as Africans. There is a war in Cameroon. Amazonians want freedom. They want peace. They want independence, which was given to them by Resolution 1608 of the United Nations Security Council. In 1961, Resolution 1608 says after the referendum, Amazonia was supposed to be free. I teach political science in schools around the world. I always confront myself with difficulties as to whether we have an African Union annexed to European Union. Are we part of the European Union? We even go and ask for money to support our agencies, our own security systems from the European Union. And yet we could be the people to fund ourselves. Imagine we created, each country created a bank, an African Union bank in each country, a branch. Where would we be? We have betrayed the people. We are no different from Judas, who betrayed Jesus, or who is going to betray Jesus in a few minutes to come. We are eating together with an organization that is killing us on a daily basis. There is war in DRC Congo. Look at the confusion they have created in DRC Congo. They have now brought in Qatar, which is brokering peace behind some people who want money to kill that peace process. There will be no peace there. Several rebels have talked to me today, sent me messages. There will be no peace. Why do we hide? As Africans, we must say the truth. Our lives are dependent on the peace that we have on the continent. If there is no peace, we have no harmony. We can't live harmoniously if each African country has been betrayed. I want to thank Comrade Shumba. Please retreat this space. Retreat it. Tag each other. Tag people that you know. Let's discuss. As I want to land the mic, and as we wait for the number to pass 25, which is the maximum for, I'll ask for another Tanzanian song. And then as people reassemble your ideas, I can see Bashona. I welcome my sister, Brunel, my sister, my other sister from another mother in Italy. Thank you very much, Brunel, for coming today again. Thank you very much. Come back up on the platform. If you are ready to speak, I have sent you the invitation. Accept it and come on the platform. I welcome Elif Ziwanda. If you are ready to speak, tell me, raise up your hand. I'll send you the mic. Yes, there you are, Brunel. Welcome to the, thank you. Let's have that song, then Brunel takes over the Bashona. You kick start this show tonight. And please don't use foul language. Don't use insults. Don't use the American English here. They speak with facts. Where African Union has scored, let's give them a credit. Where they have failed, let's tell them they have failed. Let's give it a song again, and then we move forward. Thank you very much. More speakers are needed, and that is what I'm looking for. If you want to speak, Bashona, Brunel, then Onyancha Joseph, my brother Joseph from Biafra. There you are. Thank you very much. Happy beginning of Easter holiday, a day of betrayal when Jesus was betrayed. Is it the same with African Union? Have we been betrayed? Have we seen a good? If Nyerere, Kaunda, Obote, Jomo Kenyatta, Patrice Lumumba, Gabriel Nasa, Amira Cabral, Sekuture, Mandela, Mugabe, Karume, if they woke up, Emperor Haile Selassie, Benny Bella, if they woke up, Mobutu Sese Seko, if they woke up and saw what is going on in African Union, what do you think they would say? If Jean Bokassa, who kept this kingdom intact without people taking the gold and the diamonds out, if he woke up and saw the South Africa, the Central African Republic, the way it is in turmoil, in constant fight, Patrice Lumumba, murdered, killed, acid poured on him, and taken away. His truth was kept. Surely these people can play with us. And nobody in African Union can contest this. We can't sue Belgium why it killed Patrice Lumumba and brought us a truth in 2021 after 66 years of us looking for it. Don't you think it's painful to the family of Patrice Lumumba, to the people of Africa, to those who lost their lives? If Agustino Neto Santos, the people who fought for these countries, for their countries and the liberation of Africa, Samora Machel, if they woke up and saw what we are going through today, they would have the same voice like my voice. So, ladies and gentlemen, the open mic is open now. Our first speaker is from Zimbabwe, the Republic of Zimbabwe, by name Bashona, followed by our second speaker, our sister who defends, who can die for Africa, from Italy. She has always been there for Africa. I call her my sister. She's my sister number 4. Brunel will come in second. And then Joseph from my other country called Biafra. As you know, my name is Dr. David Manzi Nyakorach Matsanga. Manzi means peace. Joseph baptized me with the people of Biafra for my struggle against General Buhari and his entourage, the killers of Katina. General Buhari, I'm telling you, when you retire, just go home. Don't step in London. You might not, you'll come back on handcuffs. That one I've told you. Stop killing the people of Biafra. Stop killing them. Does it worry you that African Union sits and watches a population of 94 million registered voters? 68 million people did not vote. And African Union endorsed a report said the election was free and fair. Bashona, break the ice.
Dr. Matsanga, how are you, sir?
Fine, thank you, my brother. Break the ice.
Good.
94 million people in Nigeria registered to vote. 68 million did not vote. On the 24 million, about, came out staggering to vote. What happened to 68 million? And African Union writes a report, says the election was free and fair, transparent, Is this organization we want? Bashona.
Thank you, Dr. Matsanga, once again. Dr. Matsanga, the issue of Africa, the moment I realized that the word Africa is not ours, the word Africa is the word which came from imperialists. The word Africa, it's actually a name of someone, a general, a military person from Europe. And this person was actually from Rome, Italy. It actually pains me. Our original name as Africans was Ethiopia. And that was the original name of the continent that we love most. So why am I giving you this history? I want you to understand that when the enemy came to Africa, their agenda was to make sure that African men or the Ethiopian child will remain poor and poor. Today we speak of Africa which is not united, because our culture, our Ubuntunism, our beliefs were stolen away from the imperialists. Therefore, the imperialists, they didn't stop there. They went on further, Dr. Matsanga, to create the institutions that they've got their own puppets, individuals who are in black skin, but inside they are serving the white man's interests within the borders of our motherland called Ethiopia, modern day Africa. Who is behind that? Why is the system was created in that manner? You then realize that they still want to be on the reins and controlling Africa. Few months ago or few years ago, we saw the Italians telling that was the Italian ambassador to France, telling the French government that if it was not Africa, today probably France would be a place where nobody talked about. So, is African Union betrayed us as African child? Number one point is that, yes, we betrayed ourselves as African child. We don't know what we want. We are still waiting for Mr. White to come and detect and to continue telling us which is the way or a proper life to do in our own borders. If we had an opportunity, Dr. Matsanga, to revisit our culture, we then realize today probably Mama Gaddafi would be in grave. Today we would then realize that the story of Julius Malemu Nyerere, the story of Kambaranja, could be a story that we would sing every day, like how we are singing the story of Henry Kissinger and other Western popular individuals. Why am I saying so? It's because Africa, we are not together. That's the reason why today you see we can't even produce one vaccine to fight COVID. Less than 15% of population in Africa, they are fully vaccinated from COVID-19. But we say we've got a board that leads Africa, and we've got a board that can talk to us and represent our interests as individuals in Africa. Why is that? Few months ago, or no, if not few years ago, we saw, Dr. Matsanga, how the Pan-African Parliament, the new administration of Pan-African Parliament came into office. They was full of war. The French president, Macron, flew to Rwanda. From Rwanda, he came to South Africa. And we saw what happened. Some individuals in that parliamentary processing which was taking place, they were opting to take the process to Paris and have elections in Paris. And then the question is, who is behind those shenanigans in Africa? Dr. Matsanga. The problem of African child today, for you not to enjoy the resources that we have, for us not enjoying the resources that our forefathers left for us, it's because we are not united. We are still waiting for Mr. White to come and determine our destiny. Instead of us taking the opportunity and use it as the superpowers are at each other's throat and rebuild our continent and unite and come up with a formidable force, actually what we are doing today is that we are separating one another. We are telling one another that this is not the way, but the Western world wants us to do this. You asked about the elections of Nigeria. We saw what happened in America. The whole Secretary of State, the whole United States of America representative to United Nations, they made a video. And that video, they made it sure that it's going to circulate, and I think it had more than 1 million viewers, mainly to speak about the elections in Nigeria. So, Dr. Matsanga, who is behind this African problem? Why are we still having Boko Haram in our doorsteps in Nigeria, in Cameroon, in Niger? Why are we still having rebels in DRC, Chad, Mozambique, Somalia, South Sudan? Who is giving them ammunition? Fresh ammunition, brand new machine guns, brand new AK-47. Who is manufacturing them? Dr. Matsanga, the question is, Ubuntu left us as African child. As long Ubuntunism is not within us, trust me, even if we are going to put a new administration in African Union, we will continue having these same problems because we don't understand who we are. Why are Europeans united against Russia in war which doesn't belong to them? Why are they united? They are speaking with one voice, but us Africans, United Nations, we speak with different voices. Some are voting in favor of America and America and Europe. Some are voting in favor of Russia. Some are voting in favor of Israel. Some are voting in favor of Palestine. But when it comes to our story, no one is voting in supporting us. No European country can vote in favor of African Union. We saw what happened in Ukraine when our own fellow children were being harassed, abused in Ukraine when the Ukraine war started. Is there any African president said any word about that? Is there any African leader who said a word about that? Is there any European leader who said a word about that? Is there any Japanese, Chinese, whoever you can name it? But us Africans were good to tell the story of other people's stories. Yet our own people are being reduced to nothing in other people's borders. It's really sad, Dr. Matsanga, today,
Bashona,
that Musa Faki is not saying any word.
One minute, then land you made very key, important points. 1 minute to summarize and land your presentation. Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Matsanga. Dr. Matsanga, I will end by saying, few months ago, I spent my time tweeting and tagging Dr. Musa Faki. Where is he when it comes to African story? Why is he not talking about African story to African child? But he's talking about African story in France. He's talking about African story in Belgium. He's talking about African story in United States of America. Is there anyone who had any visit of Musa Faki in Zimbabwe, in Botswana, in Morocco, just to tell African story? What is the idea of African Union? Nobody. No one will answer that for me. It's because Africa is still captured, and Africa, we are still colonized. Thank you so much, Dr. Matsanga, and I appreciate each and everyone who was listening to my voice. I salute you. Asante sana.
Thank you very much, Bashona. Bashona is from Zimbabwe. He's one of the few Zimbabweans who has been outspoken on these platforms for Pan-Africanism. He's one of those in my campaigning team across the continent of Africa. That one day, and one day alone, we shall recapture our African Union. We shall bring it back to our founding fathers' mission to unite. The word unity is gone. We have been betrayed. We are disunited. Today is a day of betrayal. Our sister Bashona was saying the name Africa came from Italy. And here we are. You are here to represent the Italians and Africans. Brunel is not an Italian. She is an African sister of Dr. Matsanga. Because we all speak Italian. I can speak Italian. She speaks Italian. But she can't speak Roman. She can't speak Roman at all. I do speak Roman. Itetu, itetu, itetu. Julius Caesar said, itetu, itetu. When he looked at Brutus, stabbing him 23 times, Latin word, utetu, utetu. Brunel, is that correct? Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are.
Thank you so much, Dr. David. Always such a nice presentation. I'm so happy and actually really with a lot of honor to be invited to your rooms and to bring a little bit, if it's possible, the reality of how we see Africa from Europe and also how to report you, very important, our experience, like the thank you very much. The speaker that just left a message here, very interesting, and he was talking about the European Union. Unfortunately, our European Union was totally sabotaged. Totally sabotaged. The reason why we went all together in one direction is absolutely contrary to what most citizens wanted. And let me tell you, many of us know it, saw it, reported in every way what's was happening to the people from Africa when they were locked at the border and when they didn't allow them, those Nazi, to go and get safe inside the trains and be safe in out of the war area. Unfortunately, we don't have so much freedom at the moment. They took everything away from us. You need to understand that the only reason why we have one voice is because Ursula von der Leyen, that I will remind you, she's a gynecologist. This woman is a gynecologist. Imagine we have as a boss of European community, a gynecologist, with all the respect for all the doctor, but doctors should work in the hospitals and they should not go make career out of the blue just because they were corrupted and they have friends that tell her what to do and what not to do and spend millions and millions in consultation and getting power. And now we even don't know how do they convince all our leaders to go in this direction, pro-war. Even our constitution in Europe are against the war. But it's not us. The powers, unfortunately, the corruption, the lobbies, and what's going on at the moment, as you can see in Africa very well, how big is the fight, the interest that they have. Please take example if you can from us because it's too late for us, unfortunately. You see, we don't have freedom anymore, we don't have decision anymore. By absurd, the fact that you are still a little bit one is making business with Russia, the other one with China, the other one, it means that you still have the freedom to decide. It's the Union of Africa should be and should come, but you know they should not take away the decision of every country to decide also for themselves. But this need to be also together with the decision of the good for all Africans. This is what is very, very important. It's important that your leaders are good and united to protect all Africans because the attack is going to be very strong. Unfortunately, you are the richest continent in the world. You should be very proud, very strong now, like you never been before, and united like you never been before, and fight against all this. As you can see this morning, what happened, unfortunately, Palestine is under attack, and Dr. David, please excuse me if I don't stay.
Thank you very much, Brunel. I think the same European Union people are following your telephone, and therefore we weren't able to hear the words. Joseph, as Brunel clears her internet, someone has interfered with it from the European Union. One of the intelligence systems that follow Brunel must be tapping her into her phones. Joseph, can you? Joseph,
Hello, good afternoon. Hello. Actually, I don't know if I can actually. I'm not really hearing you very well.
our site is being
Good
attacked, but
afternoon, Dr. Masanga.
I will reinforce it.
Hello. Hello. All right. Good afternoon, Dr. Masanga. Thank you for giving me the speaker to speak to people. I thank you for starting with that particular topic. About Nigeria election stuff and others. What happened and what the AU wrote about that. Looking at the topic, you said if the AU has actually betrayed Africa. AU did not actually, did not only betray Africa, but also they have failed woefully, you know, in carrying out their duties as an AU. There is something, there is this saying that says, just like Abraham Lincoln defined democracy. They say it's the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. The people, AU is not actually for the people. We should actually come to ask this question: is AU actually for the people of Africa? I don't think AU is actually for the people of Africa. Because if AU is actually for the people of Africa, just like you said, they would have would have carried out their diplomatic, and legal activities in making sure to change the behavior of the educated elite in the political system of the government of Africa. In putting doing the right thing. But looking at what is happening in Africa today, I don't think AU is actually for the people of Africa. They have failed Africa badly and roughly, and there will be need for it to be dissolved. I'm telling you the truth. There will be need for it to be dissolved because it cannot be organizing in an institution that is not helping the people. Instead, is killing the people. You know, dehumanizing the people, not even speaking for the people at all. Just like you said about the election that was carried on in Nigeria, and the AU we are writing about free and fair election, which was a fatal lie. You cannot be, giving such speech or writings to the public, misleading the public instead of telling the world the truth, which is all lies. So, to that, just like you made mention of the killing of Muammar Gaddafi, that is the point. If AU was actually for the people of Africa, most of the Africans today are regretting why they were in support. They supported the killing of Muammar Gaddafi. If AU was actually for the people of Africa, Nelson Mandela wouldn't have been in prison for good 27 years. If AU is for the people of Africa, the Britain won't still be in Zimbabwe today, in Uganda, in Nigeria, doing all their evil plots. They would have taken, if they are actually for the people of Africa, they would have taken its will as a diplomatic, as his diplomacy to dissolve and stop the Westerners from coming into Africa and exploiting them, deceiving Africa with the so-called democracy. Why they don't practice democracy, but they come to Africa to seize up the democracy, which is all lies and evil. So, if you ask me, I will tell you that AU has actually failed Africans, and there will be need to dissolve that. Thank you.
Very much, ladies and gentlemen. From Radio Punchline. Okay. I seem to have come up with a backup position. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen. Yes. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I think I've come up with a backup that will now back us up. You can see the backup there near the real backup. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We can now go ahead and talk about, I'm sorry, Sister Brunel, your system was being followed. And please, I ask people, when you are on any Twitter space, switch off Bluetooth. Switch off Bluetooth 65 days open. Even at 3 a.m. you can call me. So thank you very much. We are on this topic. And this is a topic that makes every African wonder what else is left for them. This is a topic, African Union. What has it solved for us? We have Agriculture Commission for Africa. But we cry of hunger every year. Every year, every country in Africa sends out an SOS for food relief. This is how we cannot get rid of imperialism at all. You're asking Europe, which does not have a good weather. You're asking Britain, which has winter and summer. And you, the African country, asking for food. You have all the seasons, 70 degrees throughout the year. You can grow any crop at any time. Doesn't it click in our minds that there is something very wrong with us? Where did we go wrong? You can't have a whole African commission with a commission for agriculture, but there are no boreholes in some parts of Africa. In Kenya, northern part of Kenya, the government has pumped in money for over 50 years, but you don't find borehole. Israel, with a desert, it has turned the desert into a fertile area growing food enough for the population and exporting to us. What killed us? Do we have an African Union that can help us to change Africa? Do we need a reunion? Do we need a renaissance? Do we need a renaissance? What can we have? Britain or Europe had agricultural revolution, industrial revolution. a renaissance, a rebirth, reformation. Can we bring those words on our continent? I would like to have more speakers or people put up their hands. My sister from Italy, Oite from Uganda. What is our problem, Oite? The mic is yours. What's our problem? Wanda from Kenya. What is our problem? You'll be next speaker after Oite has connected. Oite from Uganda, take the microphone. And Wanda from Kenya, you are next after Oite. Our sister Brunel, once you are clear that your line is clear, we allow you in. If you are clear, you put up your hand, I will put you back. Oite.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Matsanga, for giving me the platform. Allow me also to welcome, I think, my only brother plus you on this platform, Kakwenza Rukirabashaija, and you yourself, and I love the Kenyan brother, Iwanda, and then Joe. So the topic is very touching, what you're talking about. But I think I need to remind you of the history that I think Africa is still in shock because you realize that this country is the 54 tribes, the 54 countries which were bundled together by these guys in Brussels were made into a country, but did these people appreciate, first of all, who they were? When you go to Zimbabwe, you're talking about the Shona, the Beles, they still have their fights. In Uganda, still the issues, the contention, some people even want to exit and say we are not part of Uganda. So we are still handling that. I think that's why you see the contestation in Africa. Because a civilization, a moment a civilization is dislocated or is being changed, it will take 100 years. I think I was reading the book of Yuval Harari, the history of the sapiens on this earth, how people really recover from these kind of changes. In Uganda, we were around 65 tribes, I think by 1922. But when the British were leaving, they had left us with 15 nation states. But these 15 nation states, just in 50 years, really we had a lot of contention. That's why you look at our first time at independence, the first 20 years, we had to switch around 8 presidents. There was no production. We are still talking about, even up to now, the debate of the country still doesn't have what we call consensus. We have not yet agreed whether we should be a country and what should be our priority. So we are still actually fighting to determine in that kind of a country, what should it be? Who should be the king?
We seem to be losing.
And there's a lot of contention. So you realize that such a country cannot talk about production. But unlike Europe, you look at Europe, they are very united. When the issue of the Arabs and the Muslims comes in, you realize that they are sending all their weapons to go and handle Iraq when Iraq is in chaos, or when they want their oil and they see Saddam Hussein is trying to resist. They speak one language. When Iran is speaking, they really come out very hard. And it's like they want to move together. So for us in Africa, we are still recovering from what happened from the colonial of putting us together. The Luos and Kikuyus are still very much involved. The Luos want to have their time also to eat. The Kikuyus want to regain it from the Kalenjin. So that is the debate Africans.
Again, Oite, your network. Your network has let us down. You organize your network, then you come in. I'll give you back the microphone. Your network, there's a network problem here. Ladies and gentlemen, that we have people falling off. But we shall go through it. God willing, we have a problem here. I thank you, my brother, Oite, my son, my comrade. I will bring you back again. You first reorganize your network. You know, you are people who move near very powerful people. I see what you talk. So I bagged. I've been in this world for a long time. I understand so many things. And your line is done. Kennedy, I can see thank you very much for coming and this is a touching topic. To people of Africa. Elif Ziwanda, my dear Mwalim, what is going on with this African Union?
Thank you so much. I hope I'm clear, Dr. Masanga. As I've seen you having a bit of network issues today, so I'm hoping that I'm clear.
100% clear. But since Wandera has come in now, since Wandera has come in, their network is going to be good because you know Wandera moves with the gadgets of VOA. When he arrives, they storm the whole place. Welcome to the show, Kennedy Wandera. Go on, Elif Ziwanda.
Thank you so much. That I'll get straight to the topic. As the African Union, that is AU betrayed the African continent and the continent and the people. It is, African Union as itself, you look at it, it doesn't have a problem. But now, those persons that we gave them the mandate to oversee the principles and the objectives of African Union, they're the ones that are failing us. Because when you look into the African Union and you look into the principles of African Union, then you look into, if I'll probably pick one of them, that they'll address peaceful resolution of conflicts among member states. That according to the principles of African Union, that if we have an issue, a conflict between member states, then we should have peaceful ways of resolving such conflicts. Such conflicts. Then you look into what is happening in DRC Congo. That the peaceful, you look into what is happening there, then the peaceful aspect is already missing. Then you tend to wonder, who are these persons or who are these in charge of African Union that are supposed to ensure that this peaceful resolution of conflicts among member states of the African Union through such an appropriate means or through appropriate means is addressed. You also you still you still live within the same conflict aspect. Then you look into what was happening the other day in the Tigray-Ethiopia conflict. That the African Union, the leadership of African Union, took quite a lot of time before they could even assemble a team to go and address the conflict that was hitting our people in Ethiopia Tigray conflict. Therefore, looking into the objectives of African Union and looking into the principles that led into the foundation of African Union, the organization is okay. But now, at times, you may have a good house or you may have some good ingredients, but if the cook is poor, then believe me, whatever they're cooking will not be delicious, will not have that taste that you want. But if you have the best persons in that kitchen as cooks, give them whatever that you give them, even if it's not the very best. Then, because they are experts in when it calls to cooking, then chances are so high they're going to give you the best. But now the leadership that we have in the African Union, probably the only problem that African Union is facing is how do we get these leaders that goes ahead now to ensure that the principles and objectives of African Union are addressed. Therefore, if we get to iron out and address how we tend to get such leaders like Faki who is there, then we could be, it could be in one way or the other halfway problem solved. But if we'll end up missing out on how we get persons that will fit into these offices, persons that probably supposed to be Pan-Africanist, but we tend to get people that are not Pan-Africanist in nature, then we'll end up missing out that all the challenges that we are facing as a continent, poverty, conflict, I don't know, members, a country versus country having a conflict or conflict within a country itself, the intra-conflict. All these are only as a result of a leadership that is failing. That we have a leadership, we have an organization whose leadership is supposed to organize our members to live into the principles and the objectives of African Union. But now these leaders are not Pan-Africanist in nature. Being non-Pan-Africanist in nature, chances are so high that we tend to get individuals who front their personal interests or their national interests at the expense of the entire continent. Therefore, I wish that going forward, we as persons or we as Africans go back into go back to the drawing board, then look into the African Union, look into the principles and objectives of African Union, then address where we are failing, where the rains are beating us. Because from where I sit, I feel like the organization is good, the principles are good, the objectives are good, but we're only failing on one aspect, the leadership part of it. And the reason why we're failing on the leadership part of it, we are probably not scrutinizing these people based on a poor process of getting these office bearers. And in so doing, we end up getting people that are not living into, or they're not living the expectations of the organization itself. Therefore, Dr. Masanga's Island, I wish that going forward, in such meetings in our own countries, we start looking into the process of getting leaders that fills these offices at the African Union. Because the problems we are facing is because of poor leadership, but not that organization. Dr. Masanga.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We seem to have stabilized the ship, and we are going on without any more interruption. I have discovered the problem, fixed it completely, and also I want to speak like Idi Amin he used to say, completely and also. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Today is a day for betrayal. In a few hours in Jerusalem, we as Christians will observe, go back, flashback to 2,000 years ago, when Judas betrayed Jesus and sold him for a few coins. I chose this as a Christian who has been a Christian for the last 52 years. I would say 52 years because when I was baptized, I waited until I was confirmed. But all the time between baptism and the confirmation, I was reading the Bible. And my mother never left me behind on Sunday. In fact, Sunday was the greatest day for Dr. Matsanga, the one you see here. There was no other day in the week was greater than Sunday. My uniform would be ironed, washed, put on the sunshine hanger around in the Bududa village, where I was born some 68 years ago. I became a Christian, and one of the sermons that I loved most on such a day was my reverend called, I still remember his name, he's called Reverend Wakalanga. This man could preach, and I think my father was aiming at taking me to Bishop Tucker College Mukono. For Ugandans who are on this platform, Kakwanza and others will know that my first assignment in 1973, after my O levels in 74, my father got my suitcase and everything, bought and took me to Bishop Tucker College Mukono to study to become a bishop. Eh? My uncles were not happy. My father said this guy has got some signs that he talks some things in the house and they happen. So the best thing for him is to go to church and preach because of that reverend and this sermon that he used to make on every Friday of Easter, of which we call Pascha in many of the local languages. I became a student for only 7 hours. No sooner had my father got into a car to go back because Idi Amin soldiers were also looking for him. You remember on the first day when they took the coup, I was being taken to school. He came back from Tanzania. He went back home. My uncles came at night and took me out of the university, Bishop Tucker College Mukono. As you go to Kampala, you can see it. It is there. It's now a university. They said, no, this guy should not go to what is preaching. What will he preach? He got, because my grades at O level were mixed. I got a D, a distinction 2 in religious education. I got a distinction D in by then we are doing the East African community, East African certificate of education. I don't have any certificate of education called Uganda or Kenya certificate. My certificate reads David Masanga, East African Certificate of Education. Both of that, we studied under those circumstances. So there is one thing about this day that I remember. The betrayal of my uncles. They betrayed my father and took me away from Bishop Tucker College. Those who are Christian and reverends and the pastors on the platform, I can see one pastor smiling. I would have been a tough preacher. One of the sermons that I always tell people is Matthew chapter 10, verse 14. When you talk and preach and they don't take it, get out. Carry your down. And that is my stand. I've talked enough for Africa. I talked against ICC. In Kenya, we would not have 2 presidents alive. They were going to take them to jail. Hey, yes, Wandera, tell the truth. You see, some of these people don't sing their own heroes. Yes. This is the guy who stood up and said, no, the cases in Kenya against Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto were fake. And I'm still here. The French wanted to kill me. French, no, you will not kill me. I'm now 68. Even if you kill me, one of my children will also look for you. They didn't want me to say it. People feared Ocampo. That is the Africa we want. You stand up not because you want a reward. You stand up to speak because you want a better place. If I had not spoken Wandera in 2007-8 in Kenya, the 2 gentlemen would have been taken to jail for life. Ruto would not be a president. Uhuru Kenyatta would not be a president. People wanted them to be jailed for life. I might not be a hero. There's no prophet welcome at his own home. That's why Jesus was crucified, betrayed tonight. Even the Pharisees. There are so many Pharisees in Africa. When I started talking for Zimbabwe, People accused me. And I stood firm, alone. Tony Blair, I opposed Tony Blair in a conference in Brighton in 1998. Said, my hand up, Mr. Prime Minister. It is very wrong for you to have Zimbabwe isolated. One day we shall meet in the streets of Kenya, Nairobi, or anywhere. You are looking for contracts. In fact, I met Mr. Tony Blair looking for contracts in Kempinski Hotel. And I told him, my party leader, can we have coffee? We had coffee. And he said, don't bring it here. I said, no, I better tell this audience. This guy is on the table. What did I tell you in Brighton? That one day you'll come for contract in the governments in Africa, the ones that you are demonizing. So my father saw some prophecy in me. I have predicted so many things. I told people, Elif Ziwanda is here. Because I worked with very powerful men. Men like Dr. Milton Obote. Men like Oite Ojok. Those are my commanders, 08208 KJ. Chikosi Malum, not Fronasa. Museveni was Fronasa. I was Chikosi Malum. God has kept both of us. The others have gone. But God has kept both of us alive. That one day, and one day alone, this Africa will rise and shine again. Chikosi Malum will not go down without leadership. They still have that leadership to spearhead an African version. I'm not interested in the Uganda politics because it is not my preoccupation. I struggled for parties, they came back. I want this African Union leadership. I want to help it. I want to tell this French Macron, you're a small boy coming here to toss our president of 67 years old. You are tossing a president who's older than you, telling us stupid things. No. No. Africa must change. We have sold our Africa. We have sold our souls. We've betrayed Libya. How? There's nobody who can do a memorial lecture for Gaddafi. Kenneth, you look at yourself when you depart from Voice of America. You think people will think about you? Gaddafi gave us almost everything. Gaddafi gave us mosques, schools, bridges, roads, medicine. We can't even think about him. This is the Africa Union. Let me tell you one thing that annoys me. Mr. Nicolas Sarkozy stole Gaddafi's money. A court in Paris found Mr. Nicolas Sarkozy guilty. My sister Brunel, you will come up here and verify some of these things because people might think I'm telling you, I don't know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm talking about. A court in Paris found Mr. Nicolas Sarkozy guilty of having misused money, used the money to buy votes and the voters. Whose money was it? It's African money. The African Union cannot request the French government to return our money and the money to Libya. This guy stole Gaddafi's money and killed him. And he has been found guilty. He's going to be sentenced. Why is the African Union not seeking a warrant that if Sarkozy comes for a holiday or any visit anywhere near African continent, we take him to jail? Why? Are we stupid? Are we second-hand citizens of the world? Is our blood blue or green? I always keep on asking these questions. And unfortunately, nobody answers them for me. On Kennedy Wandera's platform, when I speak, some people want to to bump out of their windows. I'm not bothered about you. What can you do? You can do nothing. You have to speak for Africa. You isolate a country. You put sanctions on a country. You have a country with a population of 220 million people. 94 million people registered to vote. 68 disappeared to God, to Angel Gabriel, and return later when the election is over. Is that an election? And African Union writes a paper that the elections were free and transparent, fair. Hello? 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 One day. Is it the Africa we want? You write a paper to tell people that the election was free and fair? I refused to write it. I walked out, flew out to my home. I have a house. I have not sold one brick. Ah, watch. Surely, 94 million people. You call this an election? The president-elect in Nigeria is not the people's president. 94 million people registered to vote. 68 million refused. African Union Political and the Peace Commission, Security Commission, should have come in to ask what is the problem. And then people use the English language, oh, voter apathy. But there is voter apathy when you are killing people. Buhari is slaughtering people. Buhari is slaughtering Nigerians as we speak now. Real slaughtering. You people talk about slaughter. There is slaughter in Nigeria as we speak, in Maiduguri, north area, all the northern parts of Nigeria. Maiduguri area, you can't, we don't have women there left. There are no women left. All the women have been kidnapped. Hostages have been taken. Is it the Africa we want? Let's give our next speaker, Efere. Mr. Efere, introduce yourself, where you come from, and take the microphone. You have 2 minutes. Mr. Efere, Eferikana Jane. Mr. Eferikana Jane. Eferikana Jane. Once. Africana Jane twice. Africana Jane thrice. You're off. You'll come back later. Enter. Mr. Enter Biafra. Enter Biafra. Take the microphone.
Good evening, Mr. Dr. David Mosanga. I greet you. I've been listening to you when you are talking with Simon Ekpa during one certain time. I listened to you during that time. I used to follow you. Sometimes I listen to you when I get the notification. So today I was going around the WhatsApp space. I saw that you are here, so I decided to join. So for this topic, yeah, East Africa, AU, sometimes we say they are not working. They are working, but what they are doing is, the question is, on what interests are they working and to whom are they working for? Because that thing you say they are not doing, there's something else they are doing that makes you to feel that they're not doing what you want them to do. So on what interests are they working for? Who are those that control this AU? Because this problem is supposed to be, it starts from each country that make up this AU, because AU is a already established organization, but it made up with peoples. So people are those who represent every country that make this AU. Who are these people? Are they people who can think? Are they people who can reason, have deep thoughts? What is going to favor African people? So these are the things you have to know. And for me, I don't see any reasonable person there who can think, because we say going back to our roots. Going back to our root is not by trekking or by going on the road. No, it is our mental to realize the way where we fall, where we fail these things. Because you know this Europe now, people, our Africans is running and going to Europe, American, going to Asia. You don't see young people from other country that coming to Africa to do this type of things Africa do outside countries. Because of what? They have what it takes. And what it takes for them, where they get it from is Africa. So we are rich in resources, but we are not rich in knowledge to maintain these resources. Now, those leaders we have in AU, they are not working for interests of Africans. They are working for the interest of the colonization, because Africa is still under colonization. But this one is not this slavery of carrying people, shame you, carry you go to so place. No, this is mental slavery. The reason why people are going to Europe now is to work for them also. This is why everybody is going to Europe and America. This is mental slavery. You cannot reason. You believe that any way you're going to get your green and passport is when you get to Europe. But that green and passport you are going to get from Europe is there at your backyard. But who are the leaders that are going to make this thing to work? This Europe is divided according to their tribal line. That's why if you go to Europe, there's some countries you don't hear their names, but they exist. But Africa, we see many tribes, just like Nigeria, 200 and something tribe in Nigeria make up a nation. Different ethnicity make up a nation. How can you grow? Dangerous diversity. That is what is killing Africa. Unless when you have a leader who can reason along this line and have people who back the person up to maintain this, for a country to be born, for us to have a new alliance that is going to unite Africa. Not this one. This one is this AU you are seeing is just a name, because you have EU, you have America. So Africa must have their own. But people that is managing that organization are corrupt, and they are not working for interests. Me, I believe that the only solution to this African problem, both our EU and AU and I mean, is when a new nation is born, and that nation is Biafra, and only Biafran can save this situation. And that's, you ask yourself, this thing that is happening to Nigeria now and all over Africa country, why there's no AU talking? And they are waiting for EU, they're waiting for America to speak. But you have to speak first. Let people hear from you what you think. You want them to decide for you. You want them to decide for you. That is inferiority complex. You believe that these people, they are going to be the best. The only decision they bring is what is going to go for you. That means you are not making decision for the people, and you don't allow the people to interact with you. So this problem of Africa, what you need now is a new nation. So let me raise my case, Dr. Masanga. I thank you so much for your works. You are doing a very wonderful work. But I believe as we are speaking like this, you know, we are speaking now to liberate the mind of people to reason. You understand? But there's something need to be done. So that thing that needs to be done is let there be a new nation from Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Biafra. If you can mute your phone. Thank you very much, Biafra. For the last 7 years, I've been struggling with the issue of Biafra and the matter of Amazonia. Both territories neighbor each other in the equatorial region of Africa. I took a stand. Mr. Biafra, mute your phone. Yes. I took a stand after seeing younger people in Nigeria being tortured in Biafra, being tortured by Nigerian police and the military in the southeastern region of Onitsha. That video touched me, and I started standing by the people of Biafra. One of my daughters is married in that region. So in case people say why I am interested in the region, Jacqueline is married to some son-in-law of mine. They have 4 children, and I'm not going to keep quiet as long as I am able. My grandchildren, I want them to have a better Africa, a better Biafra. So I have interest. If anybody wants to question why I talk about Biafra, today I've told you. I have interest. Nobody can stop me from having a daughter, and that she's my daughter, and those are one of them. So 4 grandchildren, surely I must struggle for them. They want to go back to Onitsha. They want to go back to southeast Nigeria and settle one day. They don't want to stay perhaps in exile like some of us have stayed for 38 years. We came in exile at the age of 29. Look at it. We thought we could go back the following day. Those who overthrew us, President Museveni also came and overthrew them. Have you seen? They found us. They even wanted to kill us themselves. We even said, no, we are now friends. Forgiveness. That is the spirit I've had, which has held me up to today. And I want to tell you, never hate anybody. Just laugh. Yes, when I meet President Museveni in AU, or when I'm coming home, I laugh. I said, I'll come. I've healed. I've moved on. Mr.
Yes,
Host,
sir.
Mr. Host of DRC, Commander, yourself, you have now come out in a disguised manner. I will give you the platform, Commander. Thank you very much. You can tell us.
Hi, just a question. As I've had my hand up for a while, is this a space where you just have a specific set of people who can speak, or is anyone allowed to speak?
Anybody.
Okay. I'll wait. I'll wait since you just invited somebody.
Eferi, before you, we called you. I called you 5 times.
Oh no. Maybe I just didn't catch it. I'm sorry. I'll wait again for the call. Thank you so much. I love the space.
Now take it, because you might have take it. Ladies
yes,
first.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And I'll be quick. I'll be very quick. I moved to America when I was 24 years old, and now I'm a grown-up woman with 3 children looking to move back to Africa. There are so many lessons I have learned over time, one of which being that the grass is not greener on the other side as I thought. And for the fellow Kenyans who are on this call, or those who understand the Kenyan politics, I recently listened to the speech by Ruto, where he got a bunch of money from the West, the United States, and the British to do some improvements in Kenya. And I listened very carefully to that speech. One of the things he talked about was that they were going to build a Moderna mRNA facility. Now, I have also done a lot of research with the AIDS pandemic, the Ebola pandemic, and why they actually made those pandemics in order to sell our souls. And it makes me very nervous to hear that the priority that the Kenyan president is focused on is to build a Moderna mRNA facility in Kenya, which is just gonna go after the generics to try and go about the digital generics of everybody in Kenya, when we actually have important things like food, shelter, roads that need to be built. So that really makes me wonder the direction where we're going with the policies we are setting. The other thing I saw as well that they are implementing is digital birth certificates, digital death certificates, and some form of a number, which I like to consider that like the form of the social security number system we have here in America. And they even talked about this number not only being useful when recording your birth, but also useful when you get to a situation where you need to go to the hospital, you need to go to the school. And I also know, so that's number 2. And 3 months ago, JP Morgan opened their first regional office in Nairobi, Kenya. So I wonder the direction where we're going. To me, it sounds like the secondary form of colonialism, whereby the president works with the West to obtain certain contracts, pockets all the money. We think we are going to improve the country, and 5 years down the road, we're not going to have anything to speak of, and the president will have gone, and now we are blaming a newer president. So that's just a question that's floating in my head, because for me, I grew up in a very poor situation, and that's what drove me to leave my country to seek better opportunities. But now I realize we actually had those opportunities. Somebody just made us think that we didn't have them, and it's all centered in the leadership we have in Kenya. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you very much. You said the name is Eferika from Kenya. The opinions expressed here are purely your opinion. The platform.
Dr. David, acha nimsalimie, ni Mkenya. Habari yako
Yes.
Mwanangu?
Just hold
Mzuri
on.
sana, habari yako, mzuri sana. And yes, these are my
Kutoka
opinions.
wapi
These are
wewe?
not the opinions of the platform.
Mimi ndo next. Wewe Mkenya kutoka wapi?
Nilizaliwa Uasin Gishu, but mama yangu na baba yangu ni Waluya. So by tribe mimi ni Mluya, but niliishi Kisumu.
Hapa sasa ni mtoto wa Kimwafrika sasa.
Okay. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. You know, Swahili has become a national language, an African language, international language. So we want people also to learn Swahili. If you don't learn Swahili, you will be left by the train. The train would have gone and left the station. So please.
And by the way, I do teach Swahili for free on Zoom every Monday at 7 p.m. Pacific time.
Can you advertise it now?
Yes, I'll put up the link on the chat.
Put the link on the chat. That's what we call networking. And that's what we are talking about. About the comments that you made, it is up to the Kenyans to make their comments on their affairs. For me, as far as Kenya is concerned, I burnt my fingers, and I still wish the people of Kenya the freedom, the wish, the peace, the tranquility that they will obtain. I've made my stand that until there is a redemption strategy, and let Wandera hear me, a redemption strategy, you can go to Angel Gabriel and come back home. I read it. I can pass the exam even when I'm going to go to the grave for free. I can write and pass. If you don't have a redemption strategy, you can do whatever you want to do. But if you don't have a redemption strategy, you are wasting your time. As far as Kenya is concerned, I don't have much comment on it because the Kenyans themselves are here to make a comment. I will make a comment on my Uganda that I know. But if there is need in the future, once that redemption, if people need that help of what, remember the word, redemption strategy. Don't waste my time and years. Don't waste my time, even money. If you don't do redemption strategy, which we did in northern Uganda, which we did between Konyi and Museveni, that the people of northern Uganda today can sleep. If you don't do that, don't waste people's money. You are wasting your time. Do a redemption strategy, period. What is a redemption strategy? Healing is the final answer. Redemption strategy is accountability. Number 1. Number 5. Number 4, truth telling. Number 3, reconciliation. Number 4, reparation. Sorry, number 2, sorry, reparation. Number 1, can somebody tell me? Healing. South Africa, after apartheid, there are so many people who said, let's kill all the whites and throw them in Indian Ocean. Colombia, the FARC rebels, they are called the FARC rebels. F-A-R-C. I don't want people to say I did a wrong word. FARC of Colombia did peace, these 5 tenets of a redemption strategy. Restitution. Restitute the people. You haven't restituted people. You haven't reparated people. Accountability. Truth telling. You can't unite. Northern Uganda today, Lukwago will tell you there is poverty. Yes, there is corruption in northern Uganda. But there is no gun. There could be human rights abuses somewhere in Uganda. Yes. Each African country has got human rights abuses. Who tells you there is none? Even in Britain here, if you insult the king so much and tell that the king's eyes are big like this, they will come for you when they have a chance. They can spit you up at night. If those policemen you see, you say they are good policemen. No, there is no security agency that is good everywhere in the world. American police kill people every day. Some of you who live in America, Ferreira, you live in America. You have seen black people, if you have a nice car, a white man passes with the same car with your color, but they will stop you and say, hello, put this car on the sides. Because they want to ask you, how did you get it? One day, my neighbor, I'm sorry, I hope she's not listening today. My neighbor, I had my 5 cars, my 2 Range Rovers, 2 Mercedes in the compound, because I was thinking of taking one to Africa. And my neighbor stopped me when I was going into my house and said, do you do car selling? Why do you have too many cars here? What do you do? Hey, I looked at this woman, I said, there's only one word I said. I don't rely on government funds. I work hard. Have you seen where I've come from? He said, huh? Yes. And my neighbor had 6 children. Within a short time I lived there, they produce, I'm sorry, two. I said, I already have children grown up, 8. I have to work hard. I can't rely on a check from the government. And the money that was there, cars at that time were costing I am a fan of cars. I like cars. I bought my 2 Range Rovers very nicely at about 2,300, another one 2,700 pounds. My money from my nightclub, Club 79 in London. Everybody knows that club is still there. Google, you'll see Matanga, the owner. I sold it out. So I worked hard and bought my cars. Then this woman who does not work and she's getting income support from the government was stopping me to ask me, how do you get all this money to buy these cars? So, and I asked, hey, in Britain, there is a law that stops people from buying cars. But that is now the thing of the past. Britain is one of the few countries in the world where you can even stand as a, I was going to be an MP, the first East African to be an MP from Croydon Central until Mugabe, when I supported Mugabe against Tony Blair removed me from the list. I would have been a directly elected member of parliament in the House of Commons.
Dr. David, you look like you are no loser. Anybody who supports you gonna win. You are no loser.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Therefore, I give you a platform. Mr. Host Taylor, platform and take 2
Respect our Dr. David.
Yes.
No. Before I talk, finish your history, but you are no loser. I'm telling my son, my firstborn, my son.
Now.
Am I next? Am I next?
Yes.
My son, his name is David, but he's not doctor. My son is David, but he's not doctor. Because doctor is the host. Right now, before my name is BK, I changed the name. I call host. Because somebody tried to change the history for my country. And I was there. So I said, how this can happen? How can somebody can change my history? Huh? How come? You just came from nowhere and you just came. Okay, I said, before, I remember my last time when I met Mr. Dr. David, it was the issue for Congo. He said, what's happening in Congo? Something like that. So right now he said, has it the African Union betrayed African? The answer is yes. If everybody is here right here, if you are the real African, is it the answer? This question, he got 2 questions. He got to, has it the African Union betrayed? Has it the African Union betrayed African? Yes. Continent? Yes. People. What do you mean about this? People. What do you mean, Dr. David? I don't know, cause I want just.
Okay, let me explain. Let me explain to you. Mute your phone, my brother. I know you very well. I always love your sentiments. And thank you very much. Now, the question is, has African Union, AU, betrayed the African continent and its people?
That's yes. That's yes. The other one?
That's the only question. The continent is betrayed and us, we are betrayed. That's what your answer is. So thank you very much. And I want you to keep on listening to other speakers and other people who greet them in your
No, I never. Dr. Mayanga, hold on. I was just saying this. Has he, the people, no. Why you? Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, let me go.
I am
Let
giving
me
you
go.
another chance because there are so many speakers. I want them to speak.
All right. Let's go
Thank
on
you.
our topic. As the
Yeah.
African people who want to get something which is important more than what we have today.
Thank you. Thank you very
Right?
much, my brother. Thank you. God bless you. Stay on the line. We shall come back
Let me
to you.
go about that. So I want to the bread which in the White House they share be the same bread which they gonna share. Hiyo mkati wanagawanya kwa White House kuwe na ile ya State House. Hapo hujasikia. Wewe unasikia? I'm saying this. I'm from Africa.
I will translate.
No.
Sema Kiswahili, I will translate.
No.
Please, we want more people to speak. Sema Kiswahili, I will translate into English. Endelea.
Mimi nataka ile mkati. Mimi kwangu nataka ile mkati yenye Biden anapata kama president. Unamuona? Tukwe tuipartage si wote. Valeri ya Biden na Valeri ya Muluya ama Muluya ama Mukikuyu kila Valeri mu Amerika, sisi wote legalite, sisi wote tukue kwa level moja. Wanasikia hivyo? Isipokuwa yani.
Let me now translate and keep your microphone mute. You are saying you want a bread that was shared in White House. You want part of that bread. I assume you are meaning Tshisekedi came into the White House, met Biden, and they shared
Yes, of course.
bread.
Yes, of course. What are you
Okay,
asking?
mute your microphone. I am still the one interpreting. You see, I can read your mind. And I'm assuming that you are saying Tshisekedi shared the bread, but never shared it with everybody. And as a result, you want that bread also. Isn't it so? And you want
Yes, of
Africa
course.
to be united,
Yes, of course.
so that you all share that bread. Thank you very much. And thank you, Asante Sana. Let's move to the next speaker.
But before Dr. Manja, there is more. Let me say this.
Thank you very much. We want to move to a next speaker. And the next speaker is Akadi, followed by Lukwago, followed by Lily. No, Zeli. Then Lily. You see, Akadi. Is it Academia, University of Nairobi? Oh my God, this must be senior lecturer there. You are welcome, or a student, or whatever. Tell us where you, followed by Lukwago, Zeli, then Lily 3. Thank you very much. I love the platform.
Dr. Manja.
Dr.
Manja, can I ask you a question?
Later on. Akadi, can you take the microphone?
How are you? How did we organize the talks? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, your TV is on, sir.
Okay. Now can you hear me?
you are told, organize your TV behind, sir.
Yeah, now
we can hear
I
you
think
very well.
hello.
Yeah, we hear you. Go ahead.
Correct. Yeah. So I think somebody has talked there, but it seems like you are making this thing to be a Kenyan affair. I think we should broaden our thinking to an extent that we make it African issue, not a Kenyan or Raila or Ruto. I think that we should start from there so that we are very objective on what we are saying. We don't just spin into Uganda or into Kenya, maybe because majority of people who are in this space are from East Africa. But to start with, I think I will stick.
Academia.
Yes.
Academia. Order. Please, you just came in. This platform was opened by a Zimbabwean, followed by an Italian, followed by a Nigerian, followed by another Nigerian. The only Kenyan who came in she's here. I didn't even know she was a Kenyan. I have not even allowed a Ugandan to speak here, followed by a Kenyan called Mwalimu Professor Wanda. This platform of Dr. Matsanga is a Pan-African platform. And I allow everybody, and I don't practice Kenyan politics on this platform. If you are coming to speak, if I knew that Madame Ferreira was going to come here to speak about Kenya, I would just tell her, but I left her because this is her first time, and I've seen her program of Swahili. She teaches people Swahili. I allowed it. But she didn't make a comment that insults anybody. She only made her comment which touches the whole Africa. Because when you build a factory for medicine, you are not building for yourself only. You are building for the whole Africa. So academia, please don't come here with that biased notion that this is talking about Kenya. And if you are going to start talking about Kenya, I will just have to put you off. Talk about Africa. The question is there.
Daktari, I think you did not get me right. You did not get me right.
You have the microphone, sir.
Yes, let me just execute my point. I think you missed my point. I was just saying that let us not make it as a Kenyan issue or a East Africa or Uganda. So I think that is why I said we should broaden our thinking so that we just discuss the issues that are affecting Africa as a whole or the governance in Africa. So let me restrict myself to the question, to the topic. As the African Union, into bracket, AU betray the African continent and its people? I think, to me, it is yes. And I will say yes or no. One, let me go with yes. We created this body. But African, I don't think they had the idea why they were creating AU. It is just a ceremonial body to be there so that we've seen to be having some powers that we really don't have. African Union does not have any power to tame any country. They could have done it. There are so many countries that we've seen in our lifetime that have gone down in Africa, and yet we have African Union. So what is the role of African Union in the first place? If they cannot oversee and give credible judgment to elections that take place in Africa, we expect, in fact, as an African myself, I expect AU to be the first to make sure that African electoral justice or African elections are conducted in a manner that reflect the will of people. But wherever they have gone, in the countries that they have conducted elections, their observation have never been to the benefit of those people in those countries. Because look, I may excuse AU because they're not part of Africa. They just come as a foreigner. But if African people, like the other day, we have an election in Nigeria, it is baseless for somebody to make a mere observation. We are African. If something is wrong, point it out when you are there. You don't need to write a statement. You simply say it was not conducted in a way that people have confidence in it. And that is, but we are always beating around the bush, not pointing what is there. And I think it should be formed. We need to restructure it so that it has some powers that an individual country may not have. For example, if we have AU which is functional with powers, they can overturn the election for a particular country in Africa if it's so deemed to be not true. So that is what I expect AU to do, to have some power, because African Union should be superior to an entity like Kenya or Uganda or Zimbabwe or South Africa. Therefore, the decision that is made at the African Union should bind all other African countries. That is when we will have a vibrant union, which is African Union. Otherwise, if we just give it there, they are just talking politics. They are not looking at the affairs of our countries, then we will lose it. I think we need to give them power if that is what we want. If we want it to be a body, let us give African Union power so that it acts as a ICC for Africa in terms of governance. In so doing, we'll be able to achieve certain objectives as Africa. But if we leave our elections to be bungled, and then we expect foreigners to come and sit us down in terms of dialogue and the rest, while we have our body, then I think we are headed nowhere. I don't think that is right. So
Okay.
I think I don't think that is right. So Dr.
Thank
as I
you.
end, let me just say, I've never trusted African Union to be a body that will help any other African country. They are just there
So
to praise the
what suggestions? You are bringing in very bright ideas. And those are the things that I want. I'm noting them down and they are being recorded here so that
the suggestion I have.
Yes.
What I have in mind. What I have in mind, I think the idea should be driven by the academic class. We have good universities or professors or people who have done so well in the society. I think they should come up. We have very good people from all corners of the African. They should recall themselves. We have a continent, sit down. We discuss how we are going to frame AU in a way that no any other president or country can oversee or can be above the AU. I think AU should be more powerful than if something happens in Rwanda or in South Africa and the AU head steps there, then the country knows that the head of AU is in the country, and therefore the decision that they are going to make will bind that country, and nobody goes above that. They can even revoke the presidency in that country, so that if something goes wrong, they have the power to restore peace.
You need the AU which has teeth to bite.
Exactly. That is what can help.
Not a walking workshop that does nothing and only condemns. Oh, boss, let me summarize what you are trying to drive at. Not a walking workshop that condemns when a crisis has taken place. That's very good. And I believe anybody picking from there what Mr. Academia has said will expand on that. An AU that can bite. There is no need of going to condemn a coup when you could have stopped a coup. What is the use? When you talk about elections, Wandera is here as my witness. I did not write that paper. I can't. I wrote and said the elections in Nigeria were fraud. There were no elections in Nigeria. Mr. Tinubu is not, if I were him, I would start quickly to reorganize in Nigeria. There were no elections. This was fraud. You can't tell me 68 million people hate you. 22 to 23 only came out of a population of 220 million people. Allah. No. I refused to join a group that wanted to sanitize. Me, I don't sanitize things. I'm sorry. My father told me never to sanitize things. That's why I told you, Ocampo, you a thief. You a thief, a very big thief, and I will catch you, Mr. Ocampo. Until I caught him in FIFA. Have you seen Ocampo flying? Do you see Ocampo fly to Nairobi? Let him try to arrive in an African country. We have laid papers for him. He's a thief. He went fraudulently, picked money to indict Bashir. A thief. Then when you tell them, they say, oh, you have forged papers. Then if one forges papers, why don't you call me and arrest me? Then we can show you if these papers are really forged. They didn't do that. They say, don't call him here. He will bring the whole court down. That's why Bashir will die in Sudan. Bashir will never go to ICC. God is watching me. The giant speaking here has stopped it. They take him, I filed the application. And I'm back. Wandera, you have seen my applications. You at times wonder where I get this English. You have seen. They take Bashir, I will be there with an application. I am the big Wamutata of international community. I will be there with my application. I say now let's see at the witness. Who collected the witnesses? Who took witnesses to Chad? Who took witnesses to Cairo? Who paid for this witness? Who gave them incitement, incentives, a house, a new passport? Can't you tell a lie? Let's do. That's why Bashir can never be taken. Bashir will be tried by those generals. And I've told the generals in Khartoum, you hand over Bashir, prepare yourself next. Because Bashir will be told to say, I was not the commander on the ground. The two men, Burhan and Daglo, my friend Daglo, were the commanders of Janjaweed. Yes. They will take you. And one of them looked at me and said, are you sure? They said they will come for you next. If you hand over Bashir, you are dead. Bashir needs to say, yes, I've come here and I'm now 70, 85 years old. I'm going to die, but bring those two men. They are the ones I gave duty to handle the operations on the ground. You are finished. I studied this subject, international relations. Thank you very much. My brother Lukwago, I know, again, I hope academia will not accuse me for selecting a Ugandan. This is the first Ugandan, the second Ugandan to speak. But you came in late, so I will not condemn you. Mr. Lukwago, and then Zeli, then Lily. Lily 3,
Yes, thank you.
Lily 3. What does that mean? Voila. Okay, Lukwago.
Thank you so much, Dr. Masanga, for this wonderful topic. As the African Union betrayed the African continent and its people. Yes, Doctor, the African Union we have has proved to be a support club for Western European countries against the interests of the African people they are meant to lead. Okay? Think of a situation where Italy wanted to go into energy concessions with Libya, and France had to spearhead the bombing of Libya. That, leaving alone these African leaders at African Union, promoting European interests within Africa. Those European countries have turned Africa into a battleground they are competing for. Okay? Think of a situation where an African president, over 14 of them, they are paying France money to meet for them. Currencies. France is printing for African countries money, and they have to pay it as if they have no capacity to print that money for themselves. Think of a situation where the uranium that runs the nuclear facilities of nuclear weapons of France are coming from Niger. But the Niger people have no electricity. They have no energy. They are living in actually broad poverty. But it's uranium, 30% of it is going to France. Catastrophe African leaders. Okay? Doctor, think of a situation where an African leader is writing to US to come and bomb Libya, kill Gaddafi, because Gaddafi proposed a united African state. Think of a situation where African Union failed to stop the error that was going in Ethiopia. Then it had to take the intervention of US, China, Russia to come and solve the error that was going on in Ethiopia. But we have the African Union that has presided over cultural erosion in Africa. Actually, it would be the champion for promotion of our culture. But we have an African Union with leaders that are aiding the promotion of Western cultures within Africa. Now, per se, here in my country where I come from, Uganda, local televisions are being paid by embassies of those Western Africa to air out those soaps. You find the South Korean embassy paying a local TV here in Uganda to air out films that promote their culture within Uganda. The Chinese embassy paying local televisions to air out their soaps that promote Chinese culture. But we have African leaders who are presiding over that. Okay? So, Doctor, there is need for we Africans to liberate ourselves from those Western European and US. Our leaders betrayed us. They chose to be puppets of those global powers. But the resources that make those so-called global powers to have influence and control over us do come from Africa. That's what gives me headache. 30% of the uranium that runs France's nuclear reactor comes from Niger. But people from that country are starving to death. And they even have no electricity. So, we wonder. We wonder. And this goes to the African intellectuals, experts. And I was told some of them are a construct of those Western ideas. those Western countries' education. That's why they can't raise issues that are affecting Africans. They always analyze issues in a way that favors Western ideas. That must stop. Okay? Let us focus on promotion of our culture. Actually, China is developing simply because it has, it prioritizes its culture, language. It is in Africa where you are finding, actually, during my days, during my primary days as I was going to school, we were forced to have those smelling bones simply because we were speaking Luganda. But you happen to see Chinese. China now is one of the major hegemonic contender. You find Chinese speaking their fluent local language, China. That has not stopped them from developing. But why African? Why do you beat an African child simply because he's speaking his local language? Why are we not making a big deal of our culture and languages? But we have African Union. For what? For what? When those colonialists are using the very Africans, fellow Africans, the Bashir with his Janjaweed had not helped the US to finish Gaddafi. Gaddafi would be alive. And that's why his ICC, those ICC warrants were somehow overturned. Dr. Anas Kalisa made it clear the late that the moment Bashir helped US to kill Gaddafi, that's when US dropped the ICC warrant it had put on Bashir. So we need a total liberation for Africa. How? For China to develop, it invests a lot in technology and research. Why are we Africans not doing that? You read in the newspaper that America, those American bases within the different African countries are being used to train Africans on how to overthrow governments. You find the best African generals, Sandhurst, US military. Can't you come up with such military trainings within your countries? Yet the resources actually they are using to buy those weapons they give you to terrorize your fellow Africans are coming from Africa. Doctor, we need the total liberation of Africa. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you very much. I think we need a breather, and a Radio Punchline Africa can give us, before Zeli, before you come in, can you listen to this song, please? It will keep you the momentum, and it will keep Africa alive. And Radio Punchline Africa in Nairobi, Kenya. Let's get the music.
this. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. My sister from Ethiopia. We have been together. We struggled together in South Africa. You might not have been there, but I took part in bringing about peace. I supported my supporting documents. I wrote documents that you can find on my website. My general manager in Nairobi can put them on the website here so that people can read and take it at history, a legacy of having stood for Africa. Put that website on the chat so that people, and also I've put 4 intelligence reports that I wrote about African Union. They are attached here. You can pick them, print them out. Lukwago, you're a very good reader, and others who want to refer to it. The type of corruption in African Union. We have been captured. We have been captured by France. The chairman, the current chairman, just speaks French. Everything smells French, speaks French, eats French, dances French, wears almost French, but he wears at times differently. That's why you saw he even invites Israel, takes money from Israel, comes, tells Israel, you can come to the forum, then chases them away. What an embarrassment to Africa. Why did you invite them in the first place? Why do you create enmity? Tell them you are not invited. Go to Middle East and create your Middle East Union. Why do you come to Africa to cause us problems? Tell them that. Not invite them, then later on chase them away. What type of reasoning is that? So the African Union has double standards. A regime in Chad, someone killed the president of Chad in cold blood. And they went on TV and said, we killed him. And we are rebels from South Libya, supported by General Khalifa Haftar and supported by Egypt. And the current chairman of African Union chair, commission, because he's from Chad, he has been disagreeing with President the late Idris. He did not condemn. Did you people hear the condemnation? How long did it take? They installed the son. They forgot about the father who had been killed, murdered through a conspiracy. And now we collect rebels from Chad to go to Qatar to sit down to replace a president who had been elected. Idris had been elected as a president of Chad. And they killed him in cold blood. And the people who killed him went to TV, radio station. BBC said, we killed him. Surely. Is this the African Union we want? These are some of the things that make me feel we should change. We should have a renaissance. We should have a rebirth. We reform the African Union. Lily 3. Let's have the voice of another lady.
Thank
Then
you,
I
Dr.
come back.
David.
If you want to speak, put up your hand. We still have about 45 minutes ahead to close. My sister Vivelex, you have come at a time I've already told people about Amazonia, Resolution 1608 of the United Nations Security General Assembly. I always cry for that Amazonian people to have freedom and independence. Women and the children are dying there for the last 7 years. African Union has done nothing to bring to the attention of the world that there are people dying in Cameroon, in Amazonia. Lily.
Thank you, Dr. David, for giving me the opportunity to talk to the platform. I don't speak Swahili, but the bit that I know is Asante Sana and Karibu. So Asante Sana and Karibu to everybody. I'm Ajwa from Ghana, West Africa. And I wanted to contribute to has the African Union betrayed the African continent and its people? I've been listening to everybody's contribution, and I think it's good that we can come together as Africans and talk about Africa and what's going on with Africa. As a Ghanaian, I'm very passionate about Africa, even though I was very young when I was taken from the bosom of Mother Africa and brought to Europe, but I'm still very passionate about Africa. I think that in memories of Kwame Nkrumah, who was very vigilant about Africans becoming independent and us going what the Western will call cold turkey. When we say cold turkey, means that we are getting away from something that is very hard from us. And I remember that back in them days, when Kwame Nkrumah said, listen, Africa, we need to, untie ourselves from any other connections and become one. Other Africans believe that we had to do it gradually, and that is where we are at the moment. Now, before I continue, I'm a woman that has experienced what we call domestic violence. And what I've learned in my experience of domestic violence is that as a woman, when you're thinking about your family, and realizing that if I stay in a relationship, my children will actually tolerate abuse. My children will think that it's normal that you are being robbed from your rights, but you still have to be quiet. I had to walk away from the relationship so that I can teach my children that freedom is a must, right? And this is where African Union does not understand. African unions have been so used to being hungry and thinking that we have to beg to get what we want, that even if we are in a relationship with other countries, not just the West, it's not just Europe, it's with all other countries, we've been made so docile that even though we know that the relationship that we are in is not actually uplifting us, is not elevating us, but because we are afraid that if we walk away, we will not be able to sustain ourselves, that we contain and we remain in that relationship. And that's where we find ourselves now. Secondly, another thing that I've realized with Africa is that Africa has made a U-turn where Africa used to be the place where other people will go and admire them for the way that they used to encourage their women. I'm a Ghanaian, and I can only speak for myself as a Ghanaian and as a Ashanti woman. I can only speak for my tribe and from where I come from. Where I come from, the Ashanti woman is not played with, because we know that if you raise a woman, you raise a nation. So we always try to encourage the woman, even though even if she does not have education by the Western standard, she has education by wisdom. She knows that even if the man is not there, I'm the head of the family, and I will continue to go on even if I cannot have the necessity of the Western standard. Now, Africans have now made the African woman to become a third-class citizen, whereby the West is more uplifting the woman. We have Jacinda, who is in, I think it's Australia. We had all these others, European women that are now taking the lead of dominating or being the leader of a country. Africa is not willing to do that. I will even take my own country as Ghana, for example. If Ghanaian realize that is a woman that is running for a election is a no-no, because how dare a woman try to dominate us? What people don't understand is that women, we actually operate with our heart, and maybe people think that that is not is a no-no nowadays. But listen, if it wasn't for the woman, none of us would exist. So I think that what African has forgotten to do is go back into the standard that we used to have of realizing that it takes a woman to raise a nation, and that if we educate the woman, if we make the woman realize that she's everything that she needs, she's everything that we need to raise a nation, we will always go back, because we feel that there's something missing. I admire the African woman more than anything in this world. Trust me. And I can talk because I've been to many, many places in this country. Now, in the standard of Western, we might say that the African woman is a nobody, but no, she's not a nobody. If a woman in the village can raise 13 children from the village and even allow them to go to university, that's something to applaud. If it was something that was being done here in the West, she would have got an Emmy or a reward to say that she's a superwoman, right? So the African Union need to realize that, first of all, we have copied standard that is not from our own. Africa is simple, and that's what Africans don't understand. We are simple, with or without artificial intelligence, with or without computers, with or without lights or whatever, we will still thrive. We didn't have lights back in them days, but we still have our common sense, right? We still have our freedom. People don't realize that in the West, you cannot even buy a piece of land to build upon. But Africans, you have an African mother coming from the village, going to the city and setting up her own business. It can't be done here in the West. And it pains me many of the time that how the African woman is not allowed to voice out her talents, to voice out her capability, to voice out who she's made of. But yet again, everybody wants to tell us that that everybody came out of Africa. Everybody came out of Africa, meaning that they all came out of the African woman. So unless we go back, in my language we say sankofa. Sankofa means go back and fetch. Unless we go back and we give honor to the source of our intelligence, which has nothing to do with satellites, which has nothing to do with nuclear powers, which has nothing to do with all these things that we think that because Westerners have and therefore they are superior to us, we will always go round and round in circles. Because, you know, I find it funny that in the Bible, they tell us how Esau sold his birthright just because of food. That's what we Africans were going through. We're selling our birthright just so that we can eat, when we have so much talent. And when we speak out, we have so many of our, they always make an example of our leaders that they kill off so that we will never speak out, so that we'll be afraid to speak out, right? So for me, all I want to say is that until Africa go back to the simplicity that we might, nowadays, we might think that is a backward way of thinking, we will never find peace, because we are trying to mirror something that has nothing to do with us. If you are in a room, if you are in a meeting, or you go to a meeting, when you go into the meeting room and already the rules have been made without you being in it, what makes you think that you're part of it? And that's what Africans don't understand. We're trying to be a part of something that has nothing to do with us. And until we realize that we have to go back, we already had democracy, what they call democracy, we already had it. But it's just that it's been repackaged and sold back to us, and we think that it's something new. There's absolutely nothing new under the sun. And unless Africans realize that everything is being recycled, starting with our basic knowledge, we will go round and round in circle. So that's all I wanted to contribute, Dr. David. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak.
Thank you very much. African Union, wherever we are, I have seen one of the members here. The views of women are very important. And there you are. There are serious allegations. You have forgotten all about women. Is it time maybe a woman takes over African Union? Because when we had Madame Zuma, things looked like things were okay. I was proud of African Union when Madame Zuma was the chairperson. Very proud. And very, very, Anita from Uganda, you can come up to the platform and prepare to speak after Mr. Hibo Hagi. No. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I'm so glad to see this group by chance. My name is Hibo, as you said. I am from Somaliland. I think strong Africa AU is what we need. And to build a strong AU, we need to be united. And how to be united is to have justice between us. And if AU has a system that can lend hand when African countries run problems, like their democracy dies, simple, before war happens, before somebody loots the country, like people present cases, and then if something could be done, if we're united, we could be fighting against our enemy legally, and that's what we need. If we're united, nobody can beat us. So I think we should fix the systems. We should make our people happy between them, like they should be united. And the only way they can be united is, one, there's justice. And people who live in one country, they are like, they trust the system. And then they trust whole Africa. Then they can be part of the world. When they have a country behind them, when somebody wronged them, they have Africans to go to and say, help me, I've been wronged. And that's what we need, I think. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Hibo. We need a strong African Union. The African Union is what we need, but does it need us? Do they consult us? How many decisions? How many of our heads of state have traveled all the way to America? And when they come back, have they ever briefed you of what they have got and not got? How many of you have seen the fruits? So those are the questions. And why should our leaders that we select, so that we elect painfully, go be called by somebody seated in the White House instead of them coming to African Union? These people, Mr. Biden, could save us the tax, the money the leaders used. This was not paid back. The planes, the fuel was not paid by USA. The fuel was paid by different African countries. So you tell me why our leaders should be summoned and then they run without not seeing the costs. Why don't we have a new version, a new direction of African Union? That's what I'm looking for. We have an African Union that can say no. If Zimbabwe is not coming, if Mr. Mnangagwa is not coming, then all of us are not coming. If Eritrea is not coming, you have isolated it, it is a part of African Union. We are not also coming. When shall we have that type of Africa? If you don't stop taking oil from Libya illegally at night, the way France is taking oil, pumping oil, stealing oil at night with huge tankers to store back in France, then we won't come. African leaders should have a muscle to say, no, we have an African Union headquarters, come and meet us there. Very soon, Russia will call them for a summit. You will see our leaders wearing all the type of good suits, good. I hope Buhari does not go back there again. That is Buhari is one of the people I don't like. I don't really like to talk about. He still has that mentality of kidnapping people. Buhari kidnaps people. Honest. He kidnaps people. He kidnapped Umaridiko. Umaridiko was found in a box in Stansted Airport. I was in London, in Europe by then. Had just arrived. Was about 7 years old there. In 1990 something. Mr. Umaridiko was found alive, still breathing, in a coffin. And that's Buhari. He kidnapped another younger man called Namdi Khan. He has kept this younger man in custody. The court released him. Mr. Buhari does not want to release him because he's Igbo. These are all African Union should be intervening in such cases, but it doesn't do it. So we seem to be coming down. Lukwago, don't worry. I'm bringing you back, all of you who have spoken. I have seen Nur. Nur, you have been up, off, and on. Welcome to the show.
Yes, hello, Dr. David Matsanga. Great topic here. I would like to argue that the African Union has not betrayed Africa because the African Union isn't and was not built for Africans. African Union is just another branch of the United Nations and the United Nations and Western liberal agenda. Secondly, the African Union building in Ethiopia was built and funded by the Chinese. There was a 2020 article released in The Guardian where it said that the African Union building in Addis Ababa was literally bugged. They had cameras, audio equipment all over the African Union building, and it was bugged from the inception. When the Chinese built it, they built the African Union in order to bug it. That's my second point. My third point is if you bring together all the African countries that have contributed financially to the African Union and compare it to how much the Chinese, United States, the UN, the EU, compare that to how much the African countries have funded it, then you will see the true answer. The true answer is that it is not built by Africans, nor is it controlled by Africans. And I would like to make another point. Any country, whether it be African or whether it be another third world country where the United Nations, other international organizations, NGOs operate, that country is a free-for-all. It has no national security. It has no national interest, nor can it protect its national interests. The African Union, right, it was and it is the only entity in Africa where the United States and China agree upon. And why do they agree upon it? It is just another way of commodifying the market. Rather than dealing with African countries singularly, they are now able to deal with African countries in a plural manner, and they're able to change policies, change social ideas from the heart of the African Union. Now, that is my point. Now, what can we do to change this? I would suggest that we get rid of the African Union altogether and maybe have something called the African Cooperation Council, where we do not follow. Ask yourself this. Western Europe, European countries, Russian countries, Russia, United States, they all follow a realist paradigm. It is me against the world. While the United Nations, other international organizations, they push this liberal, plural agenda onto Africa. Yes, embrace liberalism. No, we will not embrace liberalism. African countries need to secure their borders first, then secondly, cooperate on mutual understanding and not have all of these funded agencies, funded jobs where African Union jobs are funded. And what are these jobs that are funded, you ask? Jobs that are funded, policy advisor for this country. What is that? That is another way of gaining espionage into that country. Resource management, natural resource management. No, that is another way of finding out what natural resources these countries have and how can we exploit them. African Union is just an agency used by Western and as well as Asian elites in order to commodify and put all African information, all African national interest in one singular area. Now, what can Africans do? The first thing Africans can do is firstly open borders, protect your borders, but as well as open your borders. Allow African countries to have free access. Every African citizen should be able to travel to any African country without a visa. That'd be a first thing. Second thing, business entry. Where business entry for Africans, where business entry for Africans, are lenient. But rather than that, Africans would want to invest and have Chinese investors. No, let Africans invest in Africa and let Africans have a free border. And thirdly, maybe have a unified currency. Maybe keep each country keeps their currency, but as well as have another currency, which is an African currency. Yes, this can be beneficial, but having this liberal agenda for Africa, where Western countries use African Union as an espionage agency, where they find out all information, I completely disagree. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Woo. No, you have reminded everybody how vulnerable we are. In fact, I am shocked because I took my photo when they told us that African Union will make passports for all Africa, one passport. Some of us rushed to take our photos there. I think we are somewhere in those agencies. So we don't know where they have taken our photos up to today. No passport. We talk about inter-Africa trade, but this inter-Africa trade is on paper. People trade on paper. That in conferences, you can hear inter-Africa trade louder in conferences, but not in practice. I don't know whether any of you have ever seen an agriculture officer or veterinary officer from African Union holding a seminar in your capital city, educating farmers to grow more crops. But we have a full commission for agriculture in African Union. So what does it do? Every year we are asking help, famine. Africa, why don't we stand up, change this organization into who betrayed us? We betrayed ourselves, or the leaders we gave the authority betrayed us? Oh, Anita, then free Biafra man, free world. You will come to conclude this first part, because the next part is summary for every speaker who has spoken to give a parting shot. Today, some of us need to fly out to some destinations those of you waiting to fly out to go and have Easter with families, relatives, because we have worked from far. Now we are coming back, or we are going back to our homes. So Anita, have we been betrayed, or it betrayed us? We betrayed it. Are we the same people? Anita from Uganda.
Thank you, Dr. Masang. You will have to bear with me. My network is a bit unstable, so I think somewhat. Well, when we look at the African Union and its establishment, when we look at the core values and we look at the articles when it was just created, we see that it was created purposely to defend the state sovereignty and eradicate colonialism. On the issue of eradicating colonialism, I don't know how far we have reached, but individually, I think we all have our own opinions. But when you look at the appointment of the people in the African Union and the leaders of the African Union, you see that the leaders themselves of this African Union are the presidents of the states that of African Union. So therefore, the fact that someone becomes a president of a country in the African Union, they automatically become an assemblyman. They are the sovereign people of the African Union. So we may be here and, you know, feel like the African Union has betrayed the African continent and its people. But I think when we look deeper, we shall realize that we ourselves, the people, we have betrayed ourselves, because these leaders, these people that are heading the African Union, they are our presidents that we elect from the roots, from our countries. We elect them. They go, they sit on the African Union and represent us. They don't stop there. They also appoint people from their regions, from their countries, to represent us. They go further to appoint the chairperson and all that. So from the grassroots, it's us that are putting these people there. So when we are back in our countries and they tell us to go and vote a president, or when we are talking about the voting of a president and, you know, we sit back and we're like, this is, I'm not going to vote. Politics is not part of me. You forget that this president is not only concerned for your country as you, but is concerned for the African continent. Because in the end, these are the same leaders that are going to sit in this African Union and make the decisions. If we decide in our country to vote a leader that has failed, that is not even worth it, that does not have the capacity to handle their own country, or they are dictators, we allow dictators to be in power. These are the same people that are going to be in these seats, and they're going to keep making the wrong decisions for the African continent. I know people are going to come out and say that we have people that we don't vote these people, they just rig elections, but I think that is a topic for another day. But I believe that as we have a lot of people that come out on internet and they air out their views, when it comes to being on ground, these are the people that fail to vote. So the problem coming in of African Union failing to do what we expect of it is because if our own presidents have failed to do what we want them to do in our own countries, and the presidents that we have, because if we look at Africa, we have a problem of having leaders that are dictators. Those that are not dictators, they are corrupt. So you find that the leaders that are actually honest and are willing to do their work right, the African presidents, are very few. So you're not going to tell a dictator to be on that is on the African Union to help remove another dictator from, because sometimes you see the news and I think of recent when these leaders had a summit and they met, they talked about fighting about against the violences that were happening in DRC, then Ethiopia. We are glad that they tried to, when they met in South Africa, they tried to come to an agreement. They tried to make Ethiopia and Tigray come to an agreement and stop the violence. And, it's very hard to tell a dictator that is ruling a country, yet you are a dictator, to tell the dictator that, do you know what, we have to find a way of making this dictator pay for their crimes. It is very hard for a president that is corrupt to come during a summit and stand out and say that we are fighting corruption, and the leader that we are putting on the stand is so and so from this country, to stop this. And you also discover, because among the things that it talks about is that it wants to eradicate colonialism. But there is a time that President Kagame was speaking, and he was like, how are we going to eliminate debt? Yet the biggest contribution, or the African Union itself, as the African Union, is depending largely on foreign donors. So whether we want it or not, we shall get the Western influence, because even the African Union, that is supposed to stand for the Africans, that can actually mobilize and stand on its own, because Africa is a rich continent. We are still depending largely on foreign donors. We are depending on the Western side. We are going to these people and asking them to come and help us in our own affairs. Why do we keep doing this? So, and then you look at there is a lady that came on and was like, we are copying some things from the West. Yes, it's true, we are copying some things from the West. We may have a problem that some of the things that we are copying are wrong, but I believe some of the things that we are copied are helping us in development. Like now, Kenya has a train that that is it electric, and it is faster. We copied that from the West, but it's helping us. We are having technology whereby we can now we can make payments electronically. We copied this from the West, and it's helping us. So whenever we sit on these platforms and we bash everything from the West, I think we fail to at one point reflect and see what is it that we have copied that is good. And the bad side, how are we going to remove this? How are you going to tell an African president on the African Union that is majorly getting the largest donations from foreigners to come and stop a company that is owned by a Western investor, that is approved by, let's say, the American government, to come? And how are you going to tell such a president to stop such an investor from investing in activities in Africa that are killing people? Because first of all, they are receiving aid. This investor is giving money to the government. The people are dying. And this same leader that is on the African Union that would have come and spoke about it is corrupt. So the blame comes to us as the people, the people, on the ordinary people. The problem is that we as Africans, we love blaming our leaders so much that at times we fail to see that we are the problem in most instances. Why are we voting corrupt leaders? Why are we making corrupt leaders come up and lead us for all those years? Because African politics, you look at the leaders that are ruling us, people have been leading for more than 20 years, and we are seated, and the people that are actually making decisions that influence us from the top to the core, they're not even active on this internet that we talk from. They are not. We are here, we are making claims, we are very angry, we are talking about the things that are affecting us, and the person that is supposed to change this, the people that are supposed to come out and help us, right now they are not on internet. They are doing something else, but we keep putting these people in office and even know our grievances. Like how like the African Union, the problems that we are having there us. And they will keep betraying us because we betray ourselves. Every leader that comes out is going to the African Union. They always come up with something to say, like they always have something they say they're going to do that is positive. But you see, when they leave office, when they leave the African Union office, and you ask them, Dr. Mathang, when you are going to this office, you said this and this and this, what happened? And Dr. Mathang will sit down and tell you, I went with all these aims, all these goals, but when I reached there, I realized that there is a protocol that is observed. Even when I tried to go off the protocol, I was still brought in to follow that line. There are rules that are there that have been made, even we brought back. These people that come, the people that we put in the African Union, they find norms that are being followed, that it becomes hard for them to change them unless they all unite and have the same voice. But how will they unite and have the same voice? Yet the people that are there, the ones that are the grand, they are corrupt. They are, they are greedy. They are not interested in come and speak and and say, so now we are having problems in Nairobi, this and this. I come out to speak against this and this. Yet, so it becomes a bit hard, and sometimes I think we put too much pressure and too much hope in these people that are appointed there, that we forget that even them, when they reach there, however much they have the zeal, if they don't get the support from the people that are actually running this thing, then it
Thank you.
won't work out.
Anita, you have made very important points. I want to congratulate you for raising something very fundamental. We elect these leaders, and the African Charter itself is the problem, because it says African Union, the Secretariat has no powers over countries. So what you are saying literally is 100% correct, that when they reach there, they can't now, they have more powers empowered by us, not to change anything, but to say, this is what we want to do. So I think, ladies and gentlemen on the platform, take her point also seriously, that at times in Africa, forget about maybe Uganda, those who will talk on Uganda will talk, but other countries in Africa are producing the same problem. They have leaders who have stayed. Look at Cameroon. The man has stayed in power for 42 years. Look at the Equatorial Guinea. Look at Nguesso. Mr. Assisi in Egypt is going to rule until 2032. Why? 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 Look at, hey, it is total sadness. Total sadness. So people come to power. There is election. Election is not democracy. And democracy is not elections. You can have 2,000 elections in a year when you are not democratic. There could be just election counted 1, 2, 3, 4. I think Anita has a point. And the point is that time has come for us also the younger generation, especially you people, to stand up and say enough is enough. And no. The moment people start doing no, that means people are going to come up. You know, there were some disciples today in Jerusalem, 2,000 years ago, who wanted to kill Judas after Jesus said, one of you here on the table is going to finish me. So they said, who is this? And then you remember the story, he said, the one who has washed my hands. People wanted to kill him. But Jesus, of course, the Son of God, was determined, and God was determined to give an example to us, for him to stand for us. And Jesus stood for us, died for us. You even saw some disciples pulling out knives. You know, they pulled out a sword to cut people's ear. Jesus put back the ear. Hey, it's painful. This weekend is painful. Can we also, can we reflect? Can we look at ourselves? Anita, land your point then. Land your point in a minute.
So, well, I would like to conclude saying that, you see, the same problems that African Union is facing, I believe they are the similar problems that the European Union is facing. Like the problems that Africa is facing as a continent, some of these problems are being faced even with the countries in the West. Like of recent, we see in America, where we know it's a country of democracy and all that. We see that Trump was arrested. So if these people are facing these problems of, they claim they have democracy, but it's actually not happening, and we are facing the same problems, it means we are the same. We have the same potential. We have the same problems, but the problem with Africa is that we are not dealing with them. As Dr. Masanga said, we shouldn't just come out on internet and be so angry and all that. We should do something on ground. We should do something on ground that can change our politics, can change the narrative of Africa. It starts with you. Yes. Thank you so much, Dr. Masanga.
Thank you very much, Anita. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Free World, just make a few comments in 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes, please, on your submission as our last speaker on this segment.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Hosha, the mouthpiece of the Africa continent. You are doing a great work, and we are so proud of you. Yeah, to continue with my own point of view on how things have been going here in Africa. From my own point of view, I think that the problem we are having here remains that the African Union, our leaders, the representatives, they are the same people from the past. Like when you come there, most of them are the ex-president, ex-senate, or ex-whatever. They are the same people that have come to represent the African Union. And I don't know how we're going to get a good, positive support from such people, because already they are corrupt when they are in power. When they was ruling in different countries of the Africa. and they are now as a representative of the African Union, which they have already have like one relationship or another with the current government authorities in different countries. So in this case, they have a common relationship in between them already. So the only thing that can make the African Union to be great and to be respected, to be above the government, the authorities in different African countries, is when the African Union can stand as a separate body. And the time that they can be able to appoint people, neutral people, not when somebody finishes as a president of a country, becomes the leader of the African Union, and he's there to speak. What's this person going to speak for the Africans? Maybe during his tenure in the office, people was complaining the same problem. And later he got in as a leader or as a mouthpiece of the Africans. We are going nowhere with this. So to my own point of view, I think that Africans need to reshuffle and take people that has not been into politics, that has not been ruling countries, not these leaders of Africa from different countries of Africa. They are the same people. We are crying all over the Africa, oh, our leader is not good, this, that, And these people now, if there is a conflict or a problem, a crisis in a nation, these same people are the people that are going there to make the peace or to speak for the Africans. When you look into this, you see that it's like we are still in the same problem.
Okay.
And number two is that
Africa. Okay. You land the mic in the next 60 seconds, 1 minute. You disappeared again. Hello? You disappeared. Thank you very much. Hi, Mr. Free World. Your Free World internet went off. Ladies and gentlemen, you are here. I said wind your speech in 1 minute.
All right. Secondly, Africa needs to unite as one. And the second problem we have here in Africa is, we've been so tribal. Problem of someone from Nigeria doesn't concern someone in Ethiopia or the rest of the Africa. While we are one people, we're supposed to cut the back of on each other to fight for one goal, which is the unity of Africa. Like one of our brothers has already said, the open borders, free transaction. This is what we really need. Thank you, and God bless us.
Okay, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, it is 8:37, 8:17 in London, 11:18 in Nairobi, 10:18 in Southern Africa, and 20 the same 8:18 in West Africa. And those in America, thank you very much. Those who are still at work, you have just still waking up to the news of Trump going down as the first president in history of America to be charged after he's left office. So I come back to my guests who spoke this evening, and I give them strictly 1 minute. Don't pass 1 minute. Calculate your words. Lukwago, calculate your words. Hibo, calculate your words. Lily, calculate your words. But I want to request one lady, whether she's able to speak. Vivalex from Cameroon, from Amazonia, one of the territories. Joe, today I have not seen you talk. I have not heard you talk. And we are about to go and betray Jesus Christ without you talking any word. But all the same, thank you very much for attending. Fasters, today, number 14, she has kept quiet. Thank you very much, all of you who have kept quiet. I can see very many of you here. We have benefited quite a lot from some of the sentiments. But the main thing remains, African Union has let down some of the people, and we have also let down African Union in the sense that we don't demand for reforms. If you look at my 4 intelligence reports that are attached on this chart, which you can print out or you can transfer to your own Twitter handle, you can read them at a later stage over this weekend. They will give you an insight of what happens in African Union. So let me now go back to my speakers, starting with Lukwago, who is still here. I give you 1 minute. Come with Hippo, 1 minute. Come with Zere, another 1 minute. Anita, 1 minute. No, Lily, 1 minute. Anita, 1 minute. 1 minute. Then I co-host. Look for us one of the best numbers, or our national FM number. Prepare it. When you hear that song, know that Matsanga is online. I've chosen it because I sang it in the school. I was actually a band leader. Some people, when I tell them I was a band leader, they say, no way. I was a very good band leader in my school. I don't know whether any of my OBs is here. But when you find Mangeni of Uganda Airlines and Captain Mangeni Wachikona, those were my OBs in school. Captain Mangeni, Nkurunziza, I don't know whether he's a major lieutenant, major general. Is he Major General Muma? If you ask Lukwago, you know Major General Muma or Brigadier General Muma, I think. Those are we are classmates. We're back. I was a band leader and I can play guitar very well if you invite me to your function. But this was a very good song. So I'm a man of all seasons. I like rumba, and that is it. That's why I want to protect African heritage. And I want to contest with my running mate, the former Algerian foreign minister, in 2024, we shall contest the seat. The seat this time is for East Africa. The chairmanship is for East Africa. If any candidate in East Africa comes who can beat me in Pan-Africanism, he can take it, fine. But I put my name there with my running mate from another good African country called Algeria. Let's count the votes. Let Africa count. If I get 10, 15, I would know there are 10 countries in Africa that love me. Otherwise, me, I would protect that African Union very well. You know, as I learned and I give Lukwago a chance to speak, you people don't know. You have sunshine, and you charge this Wazungu $50 for a visa. Charge them $500. Yes. Do we pay to go underseas? No. How many of you pay to go underseas? No. Huh? God has given you your golden chance. He separated us by water. And we still give people $50 visa that you are coming to see my sunshine, enjoy our women, and then go back. No. Give them $500 per visa. They will come. They will pay $500 a visa to visit Kenya. After all, you don't have Simba in America. The Simba in America is in the cage. The Simba in Kenya is a wild animal. It does all the things between it and the God. The one in America is kept in a zoo. It does things between the zoo man, the gatekeeper, and the owner of the zoo. The one in Africa is between itself and the God. God tells him, the Simba that run, is an enemy. It runs. So charge the visa $500 per visa, per every American who wants to come to Uganda to see Action Falls. Yes. Why? You have been given free things and you don't want to utilize them. Then you are here crying. You are in a very bad shape. Why are we in a bad shape? When we can charge $500 per every person, tourist, who wants to come to Kenya. They will pay. They will pay. Nobody, in fact, nobody will nobody will even raise a finger. Have you noticed how much money you take to American embassy? Some of you who have passports of African passports, when you have an African passport, you take to American embassy. How much money do you take? You all over Africa, how much? To just go and see the statue of Washington, and and to see Trump Tower. How much money do you pay? Why don't you also charge people to see the old tombs, the old pyramids, those which were built not in Europe, but they were built in Africa for centuries and centuries? Charge them $500. They will pay to see them. Or if they can't, they can see them on TV. Yeah. So you give African Union permission. African Union will regularize the tourism industry in Africa. We charge $500. If you don't pay, don't see them. You want to see the animals, pay $500. You go and see Action Falls. You see, you people have played with something very, very funny. That they discovered the Lake Victoria. Excuse me? Lukwago, were you not where Kabaka Mutesa, Kabaka Chwa, Kabaka Suna, Kabaka Mwanga, were they not existing? Were they not also doing things from God's directive? Now, how did you discover them? Have you sat down and analyzed? How do you say you discovered the River Nile? It was there. All of us from Mount Elgon, you can stand up on Mount Elgon, Mamtsanga's home, you see Lake Victoria and Lake Choga. There. You see it there. That's a lake. And we used to call it Lake Narubale. Enyanja ya Narubale. Narubale. The lake of the stone. A hard stone. Lukwago, am I wrong? Lukwago, do you know Luganda or you are not a Luganda man?
Dr. Tandumanyi.
Yes, you. Why don't you back up with me, who is not a Muganda, and I'm speaking your language?
Orimutufu, that takes us to the colonial places.
Yes,
from Lake Narubale to
the stone, a strong stone, and we thought God was very strong, like a stone. The Baganda used, there is God there who is keeping this river. Where did this water come from? In the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And then Dr. Livingstone arrived and said he discovered Lake Victoria. Name it Lake Victoria. And then name it River Nile. Nile. What is Nile? Nilotic. Nile. Eh? Voila. Yes. Jesus is dying tonight. Thank you very much, Lukwago. Take the microphone 1 minute, please. Then followed by...
Okay.
By
thank you so much.
Hibo, followed by Hibo, Zele, Free, then and conclude. 1 minute each, please. We want to hear a Swahili song, a Tanzanian song, then that African, my anthem, then we go. Thank you, Lukwago. Summarize.
Yes, thank you so much, Victor. Actually, my sister Anita from Uganda, election is Anani-African. They were not part of our political system that those colonialists demonized, okay? That's why you happen to realize that after every election, there are follow post-election violence in many African countries. Take a good example of Kenya. Just after 6 months, okay, the opposition key player is protesting on the streets, and the African Union had no capacity to settle that. Instead, it took the scent of Delaware. Oh, it's called Delaware. I'm sorry if I don't know the pronunciation. Senator Chris Coons, who is a message from White House. I don't know what he told the two, but you saw them how they cooled down. After that man intervening. So that must help you to understand the error Africans are going through. We have no capacity to settle our own political differences. Instead, it has to take the intervention of those global powers. The best example, Kenya, straight from its transition from Mzee Mwai Kibaki, from Kenyatta, US has been shaping its politics. Why? Yet we have our own African Union with its aims and objectives. Failure of African Union. Take another example. The coups that are washed Western Africa. With that regional bloc called ECOWAS, with its military wing called ECOMOG, it had no capacity to bring to book or to stop those coups that awast those African countries, West African countries, because they and US, because they have made our leaders a laughing stock. We just look at them and laugh at them. All they do, they get orders from those powers, but at the suffering of the, we have no capacity. We have no capacity. Anita, we do never and never blame again an ordinary African, because if you try to protest, the bar of the gun would be the order of the day. Our neighbor tried to bring it, but simply because Nairobi is strategically located for those global powers, they came into action quickly and stopped that. Thank you so much, Dr. Masang.
Yes, thank you very much, Lukwago. But Anita had a point that time has come for us to rise up and say no. Are you going to say no? Yes. I know you, Lukwago, you'll say no. Hibo, your last
Hello
comment.
again. Yes, hello again. There was a time the Africans used to rule Europe. At the moment, Africans have less power. The Chinese were in the same situation we are at the present. We all heard about the Opium Wars. We need to be powerful to get equality. Now we must focus on making peace among ourselves and getting stronger. Thank you.
Sorry. Thank you. Sorry about that. Zele, my sister, bring it to the end.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Nothing will work unless most work. That's a key thing. Africans need to work. All of us need to put our time and energy into working. For the African Union to work for Africa, Africans have to work with the AU and with each of their countries to build on what is good and to reform what is bad. How? In very short, 3 points. One thing, use crowdsourcing to source good ideas and to source funds for projects to bring about economic and social development. That's one. The second one is use universal payment systems that handles all currencies so that we can trade with each other. And the third one is to use e-platforms like this and better ones to organize ourselves in interest groups and work. We have to work. Thank you.
Thank you, my sister. We have to work. We have to use platforms like this. Someone is asking whether the presidents, some of the presidents come and stay in this listening box. You know, they are listening box. You don't know some of them are listening. But in any case, you are doubting that they don't hear this message. I always tag all the 54 presidents once the tape, the recording has finished. It is up to their PAs to translate them and send them. But one of the presidents who reads a lot of my comments is His Excellency Paul Kagame. And I want to take this opportunity to say, today, 6th April 1994, something strange happened in Africa. It was the beginning of genocide in Rwanda. So we take this opportunity to give 1 minute of silence by all of us just pressing the button of love to show our solidarity to the people of Rwanda who survived genocide. That thing of love, the one with a heart, please do that. Do that, all of you, each of you on the platform, please do that. so that we stand in solidarity with the people of Rwanda on this terrible event that occurred. Thank you very much. If you can do that, that is okay. Who else has not spoken whom I wanted to speak? Yeah, like that. I like that one. Yes. Thank you very much. Free world. Thank you very much. Just one minute, please.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Mr. Hosha.
We can't hear you.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Hosha. I appreciate the opportunity given to me. Like I said, Africa, we only need to be united. We need to love one another. We need to realize that we are Africa and we are one people. Whether you're from the south, you're from the east, north, west of Africa, we are one. And when one has been humanized, being brutalized or killed in cold blood, we all Africans need to
Thank you
stand
very
up.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Our time is, the satellite is warning us. Thank you. We don't want to go unceremoniously. Thank you very much for your contribution. Radio Punchline Nairobi, the first song, then quickly the Tanzanians, the usual nice song. And then followed by the national anthem. But before you come in, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you. To thank everybody who attended this space today. I want to thank everybody who attended this space today to tell you that the few words that we have made here tonight, the more we talk, the less the conflict on the continent of Africa. If we don't talk, we shall fight. If we talk, we shall not fight. Because some people will pick some of these words and put them in action, and the things will be all right. But if we just keep quiet, there's a tendency of going to pick guns and they'll start fighting, which is not very good. We don't want war in Africa. We want to discuss and continue. And African Union should not look at us as enemies, but as people trying to say, hey, you have forgotten Libya. You have forgotten Somalia. You have forgotten Central African Republic. You have forgotten Democratic Republic of Congo. Things are not very good there. In Mozambique, things are not very good in northern Nigeria. In Nigeria, in southeastern Nigeria, people are being killed. In Amazonia, people are being killed. Hey, Africa. So we are only alerting you. In case you are sleeping on your job, things are not going on well. The African Union, to some extent, yes, it has betrayed Africa and its people. The founding fathers would be very disappointed if they woke up from their graves and found the type of African Union they started behaving this way. Let African Union chairperson change his way of operation in this last year of his term of office. For us, ours is to prepare for not next election, but the next generation. Are we together on that? We are not preparing for the next election. We are preparing for the next generation that will come after us. Our children have generations. Thank you very much. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Africa Punchline Africa Radio, release the number. There is a madam who teaches Swahili here. She's already left. She's a Kenyan. She has left you the note up there for you to be taught Swahili. It is called Torah's Swahili language meetup. It's free. It's a free lesson. You just need to take her Twitter handle and tag her every time she comes on to teach Swahili. You will again have one of the greatest times to learn Swahili. Ladies and gentlemen, just as Shakespeare said, there comes a time when one comes, plays on the stage and leaves the stage. This is the time to leave the stage. We have been here for the last 2 hours, coming to actually from 8 o'clock, 4 good hours. We have done our best. We have educated Africa. Those who will miss the discussion will pick the recording, and they will hear all your views. I hope one day, as we are preparing for the next generation, not in the next elections, what kills most of Africa is most people prepare for next elections, not next generation. That's why when you are given a job in Africa, you start swallowing or preparing money for the next elections. Let's prepare for the next generation. Let's play our Matsanga Matsanga African anthem. Radio Punchline Africa. Bring it on.